men, we think like muscles and sport and stuff like that. But when we say strength, when it comes to women, I think we talk about a strength of character. Not that women can't be physically strong, or not that men cannot have strength of character. I think it's just the same word in different associations.
Correct. So that's the interesting thing to me here. These are all the associations that we have. What we have given us, I think it's wonderful work as a team. I really appreciate everyone. Without everyone's active participation, this would not have been possible. We have given in this, our idea of man and women is a combination of biological aspects, of uh, social expectations, and also there are some things that we think women are or should be, and there are some things that we think women are. I mean, there are some expectations, some what you call interpretations, right? This, if you look at it again and we go through this list that we have in the shared notes, the ones that we have, testosterone is a very biological characteristic. Privilege is something that is social. Unaware and misuse of privilege is our understanding of who man is. Toxic masculinity may be an understanding, maybe a stereotype. Strong is maybe, again, I don't know, no, it is an understanding or it's an expectation. I think for women, strong is an expectation. They should be strong. They should not let go any. They should not give up any time. Delicacy. That's what we wrote. Something to be eaten or I don't know. Observant. Yeah, women are good at multitasking. Again, if you say, why are women good at multitasking? Was it about the evolutionary needs of upbringing children in forest dwelling and cave life? Or was it about our social expectations of who a woman should be? And I don't know, the pictures are also quite interesting. Anybody wants to say any last few thoughts on the picture of the man or the picture of the woman? And then we will go on to looking at these categories and seeing how these work. What do these words mean? Why? Yes, Demopriya, did you want to say anything?
From when did you say 2 o'clock? What was that? 2.
Okay. So then let's go on to analyze from what we have got here, the different characteristics. So I'm trying to put this, all this what we have given as one amalgamation, as one mixed up, what you call melting pot of soup, or what we can call in our languages maybe a khichdi of different characteristics that we have given. Some are relating to sex, and some are sex characteristics, and some are gender. So what we mean by sex? What is sex in biology? Any opinions? You can, when I ask you something or when we try to bring up a topic of conversation, you are welcome to unmute and speak, to put something in public chat or in chat notes. That's your choice. So what is sex in biology?
I may speak.
Go ahead, Priya.
Yeah, I was saying that sex sort of determines you. It's the biological set of organs that you're born with, and that has got little or nothing to do with gender. So sex could also mean I mean sexual intercourse. I mean, howsoever you want to describe it. So
Okay,
yeah.
sex can also mean sexual intercourse, and you're also contrasting it with gender. I'm sorry, who wanted to speak? Letisha? Go ahead. Ratna, go ahead.
Good afternoon. This is Ratna Kumari from Vijayawada. Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah. See, sex is, we can define A person could decide whether he's male or female. We can decide on this sex.
Okay, what is male sex? What is female sex? Ratna, if you want to say, or even if anyone else wants to say, how do you define this is male sex, this is female sex?
Yeah, depends on their appearance, the way they dress, physically appearance, based on their physical appearance and the dressing sense. By these two, we can easily identify whether he is male or female.
Okay, in our understanding, this is the physical appearance of a man, right? Okay, it's of course symbolic. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is literal. But
Yeah.
what do we mean here? Do we mean that they have short, spiky hair? Or, I don't know, we can interpret these different ways. But maybe man wear pant, they have muscles, they can show off like this muzzle thing. Or here we have women. So if women does these things that you expect a man should do, or a man does these things that a woman should you expect women should do, does it change their biological sex? Okay.
Can you repeat
So,
what you just said? I couldn't hear you.
okay, I'm sorry. My question is, if a man behaves like a woman, does is his sex also female?
No, he's not female until, I mean, he's still, his sex is still that of male, like you would call him male. But if he then goes on to say,
Thank you. Hasna, did you have anything to add? Okay, in biology, what is the male sex? What is the female sex? Is there anyone from a biology background here who wants to take that? Okay, no worries. If in evolutionary and developmental biology, sorry, Jestel, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, like you talked about biology, and maybe like women have more of estrogen and men have more of testosterone, and
Okay,
maybe private parts also.
thank you, Jestel. We are talking about the general difference between women and men, that women have more of estrogen, men have more of testosterone. But I'm asking, what is the basic idea that differentiates male and female sexes in biology? Is it just hormones?
Genitals, maybe.
Okay, genitals, which are also influenced by hormones. But what is the underlying aspect? How do we say this is male sex? Okay, let me ask you this way: in animals, in tiger, in lion, in other animals, we say male and female. In plants, we have flowers, male flowers and female flowers. How do we say that?
So maybe like pregnancy, like
Pregnancy is one part of it. Okay, interesting. So generally, at least in the mammals and human beings are also animals, social animals. Yes, we are. Although sometimes we can be antisocial, but we are social animals. And sorry, okay. And we are. What was I about to say? So we are also mammals, and in mammals generally the female become pregnant, whereas the male make the females pregnant. That is fine, but there are some animals in which the male get pregnant. Have you heard of them?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, seahorses. So what makes the female seahorse the female seahorse? Okay, in evolutionary biology, sex is defined, the male sex is defined as the sex that produces the smaller gamete, and the female sex is the sex that produces the larger gamete. This is about sexual reproduction. From asparagus to humans, from all anisogmatic, sexually reproducing species with sexual dimorphism is very consistent. There are males, there are females. But what makes the male is that they produce sperm, which is the smaller gamete. What makes the female is they produce the ova, which is the larger gamete. However, there are also some other characteristics that are associated with males and females, which need not always be true. For example, we are talking about chromosomes. We are saying that men generally have XY chromosome, women have XX. But there are people with XXX chromosome and XYY chromosome, or just a single X chromosome. There is a chromosome deletion that can happen. There is an extra chromosome that can happen. In these cases, are they male or female? I'll leave that question for a future talk, because today is an introduction to sex, gender, and sexuality. We are going to have another whole hour to talk about differences of sex development and intersex conditions. Nevertheless, there is something to do with SRY gene activation if you're interested to go and look it up. There are hormones like what Jessrel mentioned. There is estrogen and testosterone, but the interesting fact is that both men and women have estrogen and testosterone. So the mere presence or absence of testosterone does not make you a male or female sex. And they also, sexual characteristics exist in a bimodal distribution. I mean, there is a range. There is, okay, the hormone level, there may be some, say if the hormone level for testosterone is a particular range, it's not that all men have the same level. It's just like how we have with heights, right? Men will have a certain height. There will be a minimum and maximum height they might have. But it doesn't mean that every man is taller than every woman. But men, average height of men is more than average height of women. You can compare the tallest man with the tallest woman, or the shortest women with the shortest man, and then you can say that the man is taller than the woman. But if you compare the tallest woman with the shortest man, of course the tallest woman is going to be much taller than the shortest man. So it doesn't mean that if you are below this height, you become a woman or a female. Even we are talking about sex characteristics. Then there are external genitalia, like we talked about penis and scrotum for male, vagina, clitoris, and vulva for female. Internal organs, prostate, vas deferens, ovaries, fallopian tube, secondary sexual characteristics. And secondary sexual characteristics also become something that we use for profiling gender. But here we are introducing three terms. Sex. Sex is a category. It is male or female. It is defined by the production of the larger gamete or the smaller gamete. Sex characteristics. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sex characteristics are characteristics associated with male and female. They exist across a spectrum. They are not like just two categories. They are in a range. And the sex characteristics of the physical, biological aspects include chromosomes, hormones, external genitalia, internal organs. Any questions, anything you want to say or ask here?
You told like both men and women have testosterone and estrogen. Yeah, I accept that. But men have more of it, like more testosterone, and women have more estrogen. So that was quite confusing.
Agreed, Jessrel, but that is totally I agree. But my other observation is that even among males, the testosterone level is not constant. There are some males with higher levels of testosterone and some males with lower levels of testosterone. Just having lower levels of testosterone does not make the male less of a male.
Yeah, I got it.
Similarly with women, there may be women who have higher levels of testosterone. There are even women who have facial hair growth, who have full-fledged beard, but their sex is still female because their body is following the developmental pathway toward producing the larger gamete. That is how we define it in biology. But the definition in biology and medical sciences can get very technical. But for us in social science, in social understanding, why are we even worried whether somebody is a man or a woman? Why do we try to profile it? That is the big question for me. And out of this profiling also comes the expectations that men should be this, women should be this. And these are the ways in which we profile, right? Again, this is I think one more writing drawing activity if you are up to it. what clothes are appropriate for men, what are appropriate for, what are masculine, what are feminine, for voice, for name, physical appearance. Anything that you can either write or you can even just say this is idea, what your ideas of what you think are masculine and feminine. You can use text box if you want to put something as written text. I'm sorry, I can't read this. Sorry, Tirupati, did you want to say something?
I don't like saying that.
No? Okay.
I don't like.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Go ahead, Tirupati.
I don't like it. And
Sorry, I didn't hear you clearly.
I'm being indifferent.
Can we hear Tirupati? If I couldn't hear, if somebody could hear Tirupati, can you say that to me again? Define gender roles. Okay, skirts, saris, covered clothes, clothes for women. Okay. Feminine dresses, skirts, saris, salwar suit, masculine shirt, ties, suit. Why? Why are saris feminine? What makes saris feminine? What about gowns? Why were gowns so masculine in ancient Roman army where men wore those gowns? And when even doctors and nurses, sorry, doctors and typically male doctors also were wearing gowns for a long time as the standard uniform. But then at some point it became something that is very feminine. And even the dress that I am wearing, is it masculine or feminine? What is it about this that makes it masculine? What is it about it that makes it feminine? If you say flowers are feminine, are there not male flowers? How do you know the flower in the picture is? Yeah, go ahead, Parveen. Did you want to say something, Parveen?
I think when it comes to clothes, it's more has to do more about what is like in fashion right now and what I guess celebrities are doing, and that is what the world follows. So if one day a celebrity decides to wake up and wear something, and he or she or they have that kind of influence on the world, then the entire world starts following. I think that is what might have happened when the gowns thing transitioned from being a masculine thing to a feminine thing. That's just my guess.
Okay.
Can I say that
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I think for feminine, one thing that comes to my mind is a bra or anything that will.
Go ahead, Reema.
Yeah, I was done. I think Pragna, if I'm saying the name correctly, was speaking. I think she got cut off. Oh, she's there. She's back.
Go ahead, Pragna.
Yeah. Bras or anything that would support breasts, anything. I don't know, because different cultures have used different things to support breasts, and some women who did not require it, who did not have heavy breasts or even had heavy breasts, did not wear bras. So in different times, different cultures, things have been different. But bras have been something, or blouses have been something very, very typically feminine, something that will give support to the breasts.
Correct. So breasts are seen as what you call in, I think even in Indian tradition culture, you see all those gods with big breasts as goddesses with those big breasts, and it's seen as a symbol of fertility, of femininity, of motherhood. And we have always like, I mean, there have been, okay, from what you call worshipping, from the divine to the demonical to the fetish, we have all talked of. There are different connotations that come with these body parts. But there are also males who develop breasts. In fact, there is a medical phenomenon called gynecomastia, which is the growth of female-like breasts in males, and people go for treatment. But why does it even matter? Why are we like so obsessed? The purpose of breasts is for breastfeeding. That has been the historic purpose. Is it even significant?
I did not say anything, Delphina, about that being not masculine or feminine, breasts not being, there in men. I
Correct.
just said that what is associated with femininity
Correct.
are the clothes which are supporting the breasts, which
Correct.
are usually at least in my case, I have huge breasts. So the one thing that I could think that which becomes feminine to me is
Correct.
where there are breasts which require some support at times.
Got
And
it.
in some cultures, they are not used, even despite having heavy breasts. Like many African cultures do not, or even earlier, many tribals never used anything like bras or blouses,
Correct.
but they wore something different to support the breast.
Thank you, Pregna. That's a very, very important point you make, Pregna, that this is very much cultural. There is nothing universal. Like even I was earlier referring to the gowns. At one time it was for men, now it is for women. Breasts, different cultures have handled it differently. But you can say, yes, breast is often a female part, but it is not like, again, there are men who can have some amount of breasts. There are women who may have not much breasts, and that doesn't make them less of a woman. But why are we even worried about categorizing people as man and women? And that is the bigger question we are coming to. Then yes, boys, there can be soft and harsh. Then now we have, okay, this is a small activity we can do, which I can do it as a poll. I am going to look at each name group in the thing. Okay, let us say group A names. I'm talking about the names in this group. Okay, Savita, Shasha, Dash, what do we call these names here? Sorry. Okay. The first four, sorry, here it is. These names, do you think they are names for boys or for, okay, boys or men? Or do you think they are names for girls or women? Let's see how this group works. I'm talking about group A alone, the ones that are in the box. Savita, Sasha, Dasha. It will be good to get more opinions about, I think 15 of us have responded. Others who are in the call, you're welcome to, like, you will see a poll invitation on the lower right. You're welcome to check and give and responses, either boys, men, or as girls, women. Is there anyone who has a challenge with seeing the poll, or do you all see it?
Yeah, but in the sense, Dasha can be anything, or Sasha, rather Sasha. Sasha, I've heard of a name of a man. Chinmay, I don't know, because I don't know what Chinmay means. So I cannot say whether it is of a boy or a girl. It can be of anything.
Okay, thank you. So now we are going to look at the next group. Group 2. I don't know. I'm sorry. I published the poll results were okay. 2 and 14. I think those who are taking notes, please do make the, for column A, it was 2 people said it's for men. whereas 14 said it is for women. And now we are going to do the same poll for column B, and let's see what results we come up with. So again, the same question, it's for boys, men, or for girls, women. Let's see what our opinions are. Even if you think that some names are for boys and some games, if you think that like 3 of the 4 names are for a particular group, you can vote for that. The majority of them. Okay, we have an interesting 9-6 split here. But
I couldn't vote. I couldn't see the thing on vote on
okay,
that
let's
screen.
try in the last column. If not, we will try to see why you didn't get. Pragya, are you joining us from a mobile or from a laptop or desktop?
Sorry, I'm joining on a phone, and I'm cooking at this point while I'm listening.
No problem. Even if you're joining from a phone, ideally you should get an option to vote. Check if there is something that you can scroll through in the screen, because the mobile screen could be compressed. But if you wanted to say what your votes would be, you're welcome to say that or put it in chat also, Pragya.
Yeah, I would say that mostly in the second group they were men.
Okay.
Or there could be women also. I don't know, because most of the meanings I don't know, so I can't say.
Okay, what about this last group? This is the last of the 3 polls we have for now. So again, if you think that 3 names are for one group, you can vote, even if you think there isn't one outlier there. Girls, women. Okay. Let's see what the results are for these.
So can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel that in all the 3 groups, 2 of the name I can easily figure out as female names, but 2 of the names were not really easy for me to define, because I'm not familiar with those names. They might be coming from some different culture. So, but for sure, 2 of the names in each group I found women's names.
Devyani, do you want to say which are okay? Now we are done with the polling, so now is the discussion time, and we can just go ahead with it.
Same here. I don't think just I can vote into men and women all. I can't.
But is there at least one name you can categorically say this is definitely a women's girl's name or a boy's name?
I cannot.
Correct. That's the end understanding we get from the activity. But who was it before you, Devian?
You were asking me to tell the names which are
the 2 female names that you said you wanted to say.
For example, I could identify Savita and Sasha. Again, Sasha, I was a little bit confused, because I have seen Sasha as men name as well. But Savita for sure is a women's name. Most of the time, I never came across a men name.
I've heard of Savita Singh. Savit Singh.
Okay. Yeah, so we can have different experiences about that, because I have seen Rajesh and Vinod as women's name, which are most of the time used as men names. Similarly, in Mariam and Rachel, I think they are women names. But Esfer and Mishun, I never came across these names. Similarly, about Rama and Nikita, I usually came across these names as women name. But other 2 names, I don't know. They can be women, they can be men.
Okay, I'm going to tell. It's not. Yeah, you're all right. There is nothing right or wrong about it.
I read Rama as Rama. So Rama, I've never heard of any woman's name.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that was deliberate. The choice of Rama there. It depends on what you are, what you call your cognitive bias as to how you're reading it, based on what you expect the other names in the group to be. But Savita, is an interesting one. I'm not going to comment on each name, but I'm going to comment on some of them and leave it as a homework for us to go and explore the others. And not just the names in this box, but names in general. Savita comes from Sanskrit, Indo-European, Prakrit, etymology, whatever you like to use, say it. But it is Savitru Devata, right? Savitru Deva, the sun goddess. So not the goddess, sun god, God's son. There is, I think, Savita in Sanskrit. I think if you look it up in a dictionary, it will give the gender rendering as male, masculine gender in grammar. And even ancient Hindu scriptures like Vedic scriptures and all use Savita as very much a male name. Maybe they put in Sanskrit, they would put it Savit. I don't know how they write it as, but Savita is like Rama, Krishna, Savita is the god of sun in at least tradition. But of course, I know a lot of people women also who choose the name Savita. Nikita was a very interesting one. You said certain ideas about Nikita.
You mentioned Krishna, like it's traditionally a male name, but it's also a mother's name. So
exactly. So Nikita, have you heard of this person, Nikita Khrushchev, who was, I think, the Soviet Union, one of the previous after Stalin. The Cold War, what do you call, a politician from Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the German names right, but it's very much a man's name in Russia, but it's also sometimes given to women. And Kim is again from a Korean name, but from both North Korea and South Korea, and both men and women have the same name. In fact, in Korean, very often there's a large collection of names that are used for both men and women. But the larger conclusion that we are coming to is exactly what I think. I'm sorry, I forgot who said this now, just a few moments ago. I cannot say. How can you say this is man's, this is women's? But did you know that there are still some countries which say that you cannot give men's names to women's names to women, female babies, and you cannot give what do you call? There are countries in which there are laws about giving names, that you have to only give names according to the gender.
Even many times the male names are given to girls because of the gender preferences of family, that they want a boy and they are not having a boy in the family, so they can give a male name to a daughter. Those things also.
Correct. So I know that today we have been asking a lot of questions and we are perhaps not answering many of them. But yeah, in India, Nikita is a name for girl, but in other countries it's for boy also. Okay, fine.
Delphina, I just want to add a bit.
Go ahead.
Correct? Yeah. Even in India, I've heard Nikita, not Ta. But if you, Nikki is there, and Nikki has been a boy's name a lot of times. Especially in Punjab, you will see Nikki has been pronounced as a boy's name. Nikki Singh, Nikki, the dark name as they call it in Bengali, or even a proper name. A. B, in the areas where you have a child infanticide, in most cases, to save the girl, there has been a way of keeping a name of a boy so that they will not kill her. And if you have seen Matrubhumi, or if you have seen Kissa as a film by Anup Singh, the girl was born, but she was given a boy's name and she was brought up as a boy in order to save her.
Right. Yeah, that is very sad that even at birth there is that fundamental discrimination?
So in Rajasthan, there's a history of female infanticide, like a large number of female infanticides. Numbers come from Rajasthan, and like I have a friend
Punjab.
who
Even
is
Punjab.
female.
Punjab has a very bad record.
Yeah, so I have a Rajput friend whose name is Vaibhav, but like she's a girl, of course, and her parents named her Vaibhav at birth. I'm assuming for similar reasons, but we never really got into that discussion.
Sure. So broadly, if you look at it, I think row-wise, the first row I chose a name from the Indian subcontinent, Savita, Mariam, and Rama, Rama, however you call it. Second, I chose a name that comes from what you call Slavic, Russian thing. Even second and third also, Sasha, F, Svir, Nikita. No, I think, and the last line is, I think, more of Korean names, Chinmay, Mason, Kim. And in those traditions, the names on the left are predominantly, not exclusively, interpreted as masculine. The second column was predominantly feminine, and the third column was predominantly what you call gender, both gender names, things like that. But it was interesting to me how we voted on it. But the conclusion is not that these names are masculine, these names are feminine, but that there is no rational basis for this whole naming. And the last thing that we are going to look at for today is the question of transgender identities. So what does it mean to be transgender? So when we say there is nothing as very defining as male and female, and that there are social expectations, there are gender, there is sex characteristics, sex exists as male and female, and that has only implication for reproduction and production of gametes. It's not how we live our lives. And we have what you call sex characteristics about height, weight, and muscle mass, which are changed from man to women. But that doesn't determine everything. And then there are social expectations of gender and gender roles. So there are people who may be assigned a certain sex at birth, who have a certain body development, but may not feel that way. Like, for example, those who are born with male biological and born grow up with male developmental biology may at various points choose to identify to varying extent with femininity. And we can say that when the person starts questioning their own as given assigned gender, then the person is transgender, and that can be trans feminine or trans masculine. So what would a trans feminine person do? Perhaps they would start wearing a sari, or what we earlier called as women's dress. They would tend to become more like this hypothetical person in this picture that we drew of a woman. And the trans masculine person would want to perhaps try to become like this, whatever, in changing their appearance. I'm saying the pictures are representative of some stereotypes that we have of what men and women should be. And so they can change their dress, they can change their name, they can change their behavior. Men tend to occupy more space or more aggressive because of social conditioning. Again, it's not inherent. Women may tend to be more like submissive, but this is again a problem with how we socialize men and women. Why are we telling boys you can go out at night, you can do anything? Why are we telling girls you have to be afraid of being alone at night? Why do we create a culture of normalizing vulnerabilities and submissiveness for women? Why do we have a culture that normalizes aggression and unchecked freedom for men? But if people want to change, they can also change their body parts. They can take hormones like androgen blockers and estrogen replacement therapy for trans feminine people. Trans masculine people may go for testosterone supplements. They may also have genital surgery. They may also have other surgery or cosmetic surgery or procedures done. So we will, in the course of this gender talks, explore more about trans men, trans women, different gender identities. So today is just to get us thinking about these topics of sex, gender, and sexuality. It is, of course, very initial and inconclusive. And again, I wanted to also say a word about free knowledge and open resources. So this presentation, you can download it, you can use it if you want. It is under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. This talk is also being recorded and shared under a free license. So again, today is just the beginning of a discussion. This is not the conclusion. But why do you think we need to talk about sex, gender, and sexuality? Is it even important?
I think yes, because especially gender, I really think because in my sense, the earlier understanding that we had, am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
So in earlier understanding where, we had in our MA classes or this thing, or even till very recently, that one is a biological identity, one is a social identity. But now one can be changed. Now one changes according to the culture, and one is something given. Today I don't say that. Today I say that in any case it is a it can be constructed, it can be created, it can be a chosen. So nothing is biology is also not biology. It can be a personal choice. So you can change, you can go for sex change. So there is nothing as is given. That whole perception as sex being given as a biological identity is now transformed for me.
Thank you, Pragya. That's okay. I mean, I'm not going to get too much into opinions, controversies today, as this is only an introduction. Nevertheless, thank you for sharing your ideas. And is biology real, or is it just our understanding? Can be a big debate. And what changes when somebody says they become like trans women? Are they changing their gender, or they changing their sex, or they changing their sex characteristics? I think, I do not know, maybe you don't change the chromosomes generally if you think that is something to do with sex, but you do change sex characteristics like breasts. You may, like, if somebody identifies being a woman, even if they were born with male body, they can take estrogen and they can grow breast naturally, or they can get silicone implants for breast implants. And so yeah, biology is not immutable, but but I think there are certain things that are also in fundamental aspects of nature that are beyond just our understanding or our perception or identity. But I would leave it at that. But yeah, interesting observation. Uh, there are more controversial topics like, for example, what does identity mean in sports? Why do we have sports separately for men and women? Should we have separate women's sports? If we don't have separate sports for women, given that sex characteristics are different, do you think that we can have the same criteria for female athletes as male athletes? But if sex characteristics are based on biological aspects, what happens with transgender people in sports? Big question. I don't have one simple answer. What happens in dating? Do we, like, I can have my identity, I can say I'm a woman even though I have a male body, because that is how I identify. But how does it matter for other people? But in dating, I think it matters. But if you're going out to work, does it matter? Do people need to know what your private parts are? Yeah, these are big complex questions for which there are no easy answers. So I would, I think today conclude today's, the new points that I want to bring in. It's not the end of this session as such, but this is my last submission that we need to be asking more questions. That at the initial onset, it might look like sex and gender is very clear. Everyone has very strong opinions. But what we need to look, there is a lot more nuance, and we need to look at in what social context do we need to differentiate men and women, if at all we need to, and on what criteria do we do that, and what type of issues it causes. I'm talking about this not as a disinterested third party observer, But as someone myself who was assigned male gender, who I was, I think, to a great extent brought up as a boy, I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't fit into the expectations of what a boy should be. And today I don't know. Am I a woman? I don't know. I mean, if I were to choose between being a man and a woman, I would definitely choose woman. Delphina is my chosen name. But would I say that I'm 100% woman? I don't know. Is there anyone as 100% women? Question for you all.
I
Yeah,
don't think,
can I add
I
something?
think myself as, okay, Devyani, go ahead.
Yeah,
Then
you
I'll
go
talk.
ahead, Pragya. I'll speak later.
Yeah. Okay. Like the kind of, the in terms of thing that I feel that uh, best thing is to think about each individual as a yin yang, has a male and a female, because even the characteristics that today we associate with the masculinity will change, when we have a gender neutral society or egalitarian society. So the values and characteristics are associated with men will also change. But with existing society, I feel that there is a man in me, and there is a extreme kind of feminine person in me. So my aggression, whenever I have a aggression, wherever I have a kind of assertive or very adamant kind of a thing, I feel that is a dominant kind of a nature which I have. Uh, 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 I feel that is something masculine, and rest of me is I'm feminine. Rest of me is a neutral person, and I love being associated as a cis woman.
Thank you, Pragya. I will leave it as a question you don't have to answer right now, but why do you think aggression is masculine? Why do you think being soft, whatever, is feminine? And
I'm not
Devyani,
saying, I said that earlier only, that this is something given on the present value systems. I'm not saying that. I hope that it will change someday.
correct. But who gives this value system? I'm not, it's not only for you, Pragya, but the question for all of us to ask is who is making this value system? Why is it so important? Devyani, go ahead.
Yes. So I am going to make three observations or maybe questions or opinion, because I'm not sure how I'm going to articulate. But there are three aspects. First was when we were discussing about the sex identities, how what identifies men and what identifies women. But because we have different sexual identities now, we talk about transgenders and all the other identities. So, is there something which is biologically also definable uh, at the time of birth? Because choosing a gender at a later stage is something different. But in biology, we only read men, boy, and girl, or male or female gender. So, if there is something which is a biological aspect to other genders or other sexes, so that is something I'm not aware about, and I would like to know if there are such observation or such studies or criterias are there. Then there's another thing that while we were discussing this aspect of sports, that can there be sports for men and women together, or we have to have those sports different because they have different physical attributes. But isn't it more of having this competitive nature of sports? If we don't have competition in sports, do we really need to have sports separate for men and women? Or they can play together and they can enjoy the sports together. If there is no competition, they can perform up to their strength, their capacity, and whatever you can call it. And there was third part to it which I missed now, so I'll add later. I was about to say something, but for the moment I forgot what it was.
There's
Thank you.
one question I had.
Wait,
Can I
shall
ask a question?
Okay, now can I just a very quick response to Devyani, and then you can go ahead, Pragna. So, in regarding, is there something biological? I hold on to that question. Of course, I welcome more questions. If you have a question, you can put it in the whiteboard, you can put it in chat, you can ask now, but to the extent possible, we'll answer, but we'll also try to conclude this formally in another 5 to 10 minutes. But of course, we will have more talks. So there is going to be, I will encourage you to look forward for the upcoming gender talks, maybe in, I think, a couple of weeks, where we are going to talk about differences in sex development and intersex conditions. So we will talk there about the biology. But if you want to read up on something like this, you look at the male and female as what you call the gamete prediction, definitions of male and female, and also SRY gene activation. So do we say that there are two sexes or more than two sexes? But does it even matter? At a social level, does it matter? What person's sex is? Maybe in medicine, when they go for a hospital healthcare, yes, it matters. When they are with their intimate partner, what body parts they have matter. But why should this matter in workplace, in education, in public transit? I don't think the sex of that should matter. Same with sports also. I think what you made is a very valuable submission, Devyani. I'm asking, maybe I'm also, this is my personal opinion. I think that we may need to have some sort of biologic, basis of understanding male and female biology when it comes to defining rules for competitive sports at the elite level. But I think sports instruction, sports training, sports as recreation should never be sex segregated. That is my feeling, because I also lost learning sports in school because it was very sex segregated, and I just couldn't deal with the culture of segregation. Sorry, pregnant.
Yeah, please carry on.
It's all right, Devyani. Ask your question. I can wait.
Yeah, I remembered my third submission. That was when you were talking about choosing genders. Like you said that you were raised as a boy, but then you choose not to remain a boy, and you choose to change the gender. This raising as a boy or raising as a girl, because I don't know, like the kind of parenting that we have, whatever we are being raised as, do we really like being a child, the way the children are being raised, the way the choices are imposed on them all the times? It is not only as a boy, it can be only it can be as a child who is forced to go to school every day, or a child who is forced to eat a certain kind of food which the child is not. So what is it that specifically, because yes, there is a lot of pressure of being a boy or being a girl, uh, by dressing in a certain way, by behaving in a certain way, by choosing certain sports or certain subjects, or doing household chores, or going out to. So like it is what is it that really makes it so important for some person to actually switch the gender, change the gender? Or is it because of the behavior that the child is receiving in the family only, or there is something which is um, biologically there in that person, who the person may take time to identify and then get into those choices?
And again, this is something that different people may have different opinions, and I think it's also we are reaching the end of time for today's discussion. But what I want to say is that what makes it important for somebody to change their gender? Why is gender is to what extent important for every individual? It's a very personal and individual thing. You ask different people in the community, different people in society, different people in transgender community, you will get different answers. Because I know for some of my trans friends, changing the gender was the defining aspect of self-acceptance. They would have like died, been on the verge of suicide if they cannot live the chosen gender. But to me, I think the question is not why it is important for me to choose a gender. The question I always have for everyone in society is, why is it important for you to categorize me as a gender? I'm a human. what gender I am, I'll discuss, or what sex characteristics I have, what body parts I have. The people who are providing medical care that specifically relate to those body parts, they can know. My intimate partners can know. But other than that, you shouldn't be worried, right? I mean, it's not something hidden. I'm male. I'm not trying to hide that. But why do you have to say that if you are a male, you should wear this dress? If you are a male, you should take up these roles. If you are a male, you should have this type of socialization. This was my problem from childhood. That with sports also, they would all the boys were encouraged to play aggressively. It's not that they are naturally having more strength. It's not about the strength you have. It's about what is the culture of sports. Why do we have different culture? That's why I was saying I'm very happy you said sports training and sports instruction should not be sex gender segregated. Thank you. Okay, last one or two.
I'm just saying the question that I'm holding. I just want you to, in next talks that we have, there is a definite difference that I have come to realize, and it was really, it surprised me when I got this understanding that there is a difference between my sexual identity and my gender identity.
Correct.
Right, so the sexual orientation and the identity created through that orientation could change even at any stage of life. You know, means this was something really, it changed the worldview for me. It absolutely changed the worldview for me, that it is not something given. I mean, these identities are not something given. They are so fluid. They're so fluid for me.
Thank
all
you,
the time.
I don't mean to cut you off, but hold on to this, because join us next week, same time, same place, same link. The topic is most probably going to be sexuality for next week. We will have two more speakers, facilitators, who will be sharing. And so we will talk a lot about sexual orientation, identity, attraction, and all of that next week. And yeah, we invite you to come along with us in this journey that we are starting today for the next maybe 30, 40, 50 weeks, however long it takes, because as you see, this is a very complex topic. So today's is an introduction, and it was deliberately made less technical and more activity based to just get our curiosity started. But we are also going to, in the course of time, have more in-depth academic presentations, intense personal sharing from community members, and we are going to have a little bit more activity and fun. I hope this was a meaningful day, and yeah, I invite you to be there, and you are welcome to use chat, shared notes, and to say your comments, ideas, whatever you want for the future. We will also consider that when we are preparing our plan for the future. But our aim here from the organizers is to together put up a program that helps create some meaningful conversation on this and place it in public domain for it to be accessible to everyone. So do feel free to share these recordings in YouTube and Facebook, bring along your friends. And yeah, I mean, we may formally have to close the streams at this point, but we will then still have the floor open for in case somebody wants to stay back, share a feedback. In case you want to personally interact with others, we will have a possibility for that. Just like if we are doing a program in a physical space, we don't at the end, once the speaker completes and gets off the stage, we don't like go and kick out the people. So it is my personal opinion that in online programs, we shouldn't like close the room and throw out people. So we will have the option for you to stay in this room for some time and share your anything that you want to share off the record. But is there anything for Surender or anyone is there from Open Space Foundation or even from Bharathidasan University? If there are any logistical or other announcements or sharing, we can do that. Otherwise, it will be over to Reema.
All right. If there is no one from Bharathidasan University or Open Access Space, I'll close the session now. So we'll be stopping the live streaming in a minute. I want to thank all of you for being wonderful participants. This was an incredibly interactive session, and it was amazing to hear from you, Delphina. And I like to thank all the participants on behalf of Nirangal Charitable Trust, Open Space Foundation, and the Women's Department of Bharathidasan University. Our second Gender Talks in English session will be next week on the same day at the same time, that is on Friday, 5th of February from 2 p.m. And we expect to see all of you then. And we will be closing our live streaming